Alrighty, so I just got back home from my little ground hop that I did tonight, and right now I am going to do the review of the Saturday matinee action first. Originally, I was going to do the review of the Saturday matinee games before I go to do my little ground hop tonight, but instead I decided to do it after. So here we are at 11:30 in the evening, a little bit of a late night edition of the review looking at the Saturday matinee game. And tomorrow we're going to have a quadruple header where pretty much for 8 hours I'll be watching some MLS soccer, and I'll definitely do the review of those Sunday games after all the Sunday games concluded. And then I'll do something similar to what I did last week, which is for the Saturday night action. I basically just decided to do the review of the Saturday night action on Monday. But with that being said, the story when it comes to these Saturday matinee game is that we could have easily saw some upset between underdogs team if they could have just put the ball into the back of the net and show their clinical finishing. Because yeah, let's just say that was a big problem for those teams, and was kind of the reason why they weren't able to get anything out of it. Now, that being said, the first game between Toronto versus NYCFC, you couldn't really quite say that there was really an underdog in this one. Both of these teams were not doing very well this season, and you could maybe even say that it's kind of a desperation derby as well. But in the end, NYCFC, they needed this one badly because it's been a long time since NYCFC have won a road game. In fact, seeing NYCFC winning a road game is like once in a blue moon. And in this game against a Toronto team that, while Toronto is still not playing very well, and they're not picking up the amount of points that they should be. I mean, yes, they did get their first win last week, but let's be honest, that was an absolute smash and grab, and something that you talk about once in a blue moon. It's a once in a blue moon a team can get outshot 23-2 and still get on the winning side. And as we mentioned many times, goal scoring is a problem for this team. Creating chances is a problem for this team. And what do you think happened in this game that TFC had against NYCFC? Yeah, they couldn't the ball into the back net and didn't really create too many dangerous chances. So I said that, but in the first half, 2 minutes into this game, our Sharp would headset wide from the back post. That was probably the most dangerous chances that TFC created for this game. And by the way, Charlie Sharp getting his first start in this game for TFC. I thought he looked lively in this one. But there was no doubt that Toronto was on the front foot, was pushing for the opening goal. Parks would then heads it wide from the free kick cross. It was a shout for a penalty for NYCFC not given. The shots were still only 2-1 up to this point. Yeah, this was not a game that a neutral would want to watch, and I knew that this was going to be the case. I had a feeling this was going to be a low scoring game where not much is going to happen. Corbino was in on goal there, but he hits it right to freeze. And we do head to halftime with the scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Corbino would then heads it wide from close in the 51st minute, like the beginning of the first half. Toronto was definitely on the front foot, but the question is, can they create some decent chances? Because up to this point, most of these chances that they created, besides the sharp chance and maybe the Corbino chance, wasn't really that hard for Freeze to deal with. Martinez shot actually cleared off the line by Thompson, so Alonso Martinez has actually went around the keeper. He tried to put this one in, but Cozy Thompson was just in the right place, right time to clear it away. Then there was a huge shout for a penalty for TFC not given, and then 2 minutes later on the other end, a penalty was given to NYCFC as Long brought down Martinez in the box. So this gives Martinez a chance to get the opening goal for NYCFC. He usually doesn't miss from the spot, and he doesn't miss there. So that made it 1-0 in favor of NYCFC, and that is an absolute backbreaker for TFC, because you go from on one end you thought that you got yourself a penalty, but the referee says no, and then you give up a penalty on the other end. That's just kind of, and that feels like a very TFC kind of thing to happen, especially from what we see this season. But in the 75th minute, Fernandez would put it wide after a lightning counterattack from NYCFC. As the time winds down, Toronto continued to push for the equalizer, where NYCFC was just kind of play that bend but don't break kind of thing and hope to get all 3 points. Though, as I said that, they had a chance to make it 2-0 if it wasn't for Johnson denying Fernandez from close. Spicer would then put it wide from close, and then Rostem would head it wide from close in the 89th minute. As in the end, NYCFC, like I said, this doesn't happen very often, but when it does happen, it definitely feel great for the fans. And that, of course, is getting a road win, a 1-0 road win against Toronto. 12 shots compared to that TFC had in this game. 1 shots on goal for the 4 that NYCFC has. 3 shots off target for the 4 that TFC had. 3 shots that was blocked for the 7 that TFC had. And possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that NYCFC has in this game. And as I've also mentioned before many times with TFC, while the defense have definitely been much better in these last couple of games, they're not giving up as much goals as what we see in the past. The attack is still struggling with this team, and it will continue to struggle as this rebuild build that they're unfortunately enduring, and it's not just a rebuild, but a deep rebuild that they're enduring is happening, and yeah, when you can't score a lot of goals and you don't have much going forward. These are kind of the resort that has happened, and that's just kind of the thing that TFC fans gonna have to live with. Like we know they're not gonna be a competitive team, and it's just kind of one of those games where you just kind of brush away and say that. Well, let's just hope eventually the attack will get going in the next game. Now, moving on in terms of the next match is Cincinnati versus Sporting KC. So this is one of those games that I'll mention in the other two games where again the team that was considered to be heavy underdog coming into this one had their moments to get something out of this game. I mean, for Sporting KC, this was one of their better games that they played this season, and yet unfortunately they weren't being clinical. And how many times we have said when you're the underdog and you're not clinical in terms of your finishing, it's going to come back to haunt you. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the game, see Denke puts it wide from close. Unsurprisingly, since he had most of the possession earlier of this game and we're looking for the opener, that would actually be changing as the game goes along. Orejano would then hits it right to Polskan before Jovic would hits it right to Sautano. Garcia then last one to Kentucky. I also thought that Sporting kind of got into this game, and now they were starting to put some pressure to try to get the opening goal. Miller would then heads it wide in the back post before Jovic would heads it wide despite having a free header there. So yeah, that is one that Dejan Jovic would love to have back. I mean, he's not known to score from the header, but still, that is one that he would absolutely want to have back. Probably should have been 1-0 in favor of Sporting KC. Again, Sporting KC generating some dangerous chances, but can they take advantage of it and get that opening goal? Suleimanov would then puts it wide from long range. The shots were 6-2 for Sporting KC up to this point. So you can kind of sense that Sporting KC was getting more of the dangerous chances. But again, both of these teams were still only having 1 shot on target up to this point. And I also thought that, on the other end, Cincinnati, as much as they were trying to play the counterattack, it kind of doesn't really kind of work out, mainly because they just look really flat going forward. And even when they do get into the final third, they were just almost like doing trying to score the perfect goal. They were taking way too much touches, being way too cute in the final third, and they probably saw me wrote that because just a couple of minutes later they would score against the run of play. As in the 42nd minute, Denke would score to make it 1-0 in favor of Cincinnati. Polskan actually made a great save here, but Denke was just in the right place in the right time. I mean, that's just a sign of a true goal scorer. Denke has been a huge part of this Cincinnati attack, and as we'll see in just a bit, he was not done in terms of the goal scoring. But yeah, that made it 1-0 in favor of Cincinnati. Just an absolute backbreaker for Sporting KC because again, up to that point, they were the better team. But we do head to halftime with Cincinnati leading 1-0. In the second half, Sporting once again had more of the possession and we're looking for the equalizer. And this is kind of something that is a little different from a Peter Vermees Sporting KC side compared to their current head coach. A Peter Vermees side would just completely traitor up to this point, but compared to Sporting KC, they continue to push to try to tie the game up. Showery was in on goal there, but he was denied by Sautano. There was a shot for a penalty for Sporting KC not given. Evander would then hits one that Postholm actually bobbled it, and he is very lucky that he was able to gather on the second attempt because there was a lot of traffic while he was trying to gather it on the second attempt, and especially with the way that Evander hits that one, it wasn't really hit with a lot of pace. That is one that Polskan absolutely should have got, and again, very fortunate that he was not punished despite the fact that there was a lot of traffic around him and somehow got it on the second attempt. There was a shout for a penalty for Sporting KC, but instead Jovic got booked for embellishment, so something tells me that Jovic might get a mail from the MLS disciplinary committee on Tuesday or Wednesday that, yeah, you might get fined for embellishment. But in the 76th minute, or sorry, the 70th minute, that is, Angel looked like he scored for Cincinnati, but the flag did not agree with him. And I thought Cincinnati did a good job, at least ride out the original pressure. Sporting KC was once again putting a lot of pressure in the beginning of the second half, but they did a good job riding out of it, and now they're creating chances to get that second goal. Denke would then hits one right to Polschgam, and then he denied Evander shot that was deflected in the 77th minute. But then in the 78th minute, Denke went on his bike and he buries it. So he scored for Moragiano to make it 2-1 in favor of Cincinnati. And yeah, I mean, it was just a spectacular bicycle kick goal, one of the best one that you will see. Definitely the goal of the week, and maybe even the goal of the year, because usually what we see with bicycle kick, they're definitely going to be in contention for that. I think last year didn't the goal of the year came because of a bicycle kick goal. I think Chara was the one that scored that bicycle kick goal and then won the goal of the year. So that kid definitely has a good chance to winning the goal of the year award, that because that was just a lovely late bicycle kick. I mean the technique and the way that he still were able to hit that one with pace, that is a definition of a perfect bicycle kick attempt that ends up to be a goal. Denke though was not done, or at least he was trying not to just let two goals be in this game. He was looking for a hat trick, but he missed wide in the 84th minute before he hits one right to Postgame in the 87th minute. Yeah, Denke wants that hat trick badly. That Sporting KC defending was kind of optional. There were a time where when Cincinnati finally started putting the pressure on them, that defense kind of started to melt away. In the 89th minute, Sporting KC does get one back, and Zoran Basson, it's hard to believe, but this is finally his first career MLS goal. He has not scored an MLS goal up to this point, despite the fact that he's been playing in this league for the past couple of years and a veteran in this league. But he finally scored his first career MLS goal from Tommy to make it 2-1 in this one. Evander did look to restore a two-goal lead, but he puts this one high. And I talk about bad finishing. Yeah, Evander would feel like he probably should have got a goal in this one. He had a lot of chances in this one. But yeah, in the end, Cincinnati, they win 2-1 in this one because that's what Cincinnati does. They would love to win one goal lead. That's kind of the mantra for Pat Nolan's side. The shots in this one, 14 shots for the 11 that Sporting KC had. 7 shots on goal for the 4 that Sporting KC had. 5 shots off target for the 4 that Cincinnati has. 2 shots off block for the 3 that Cincinnati has. And possession-wise, 53% possession compared to the 47% possession that Sporting KC has in this game. And like I said, when you're not clinical, especially when you're the underdog, these are kind of the resort that is going to go against you. And for Sporting KC, they will definitely be kicking themselves because again, they especially in the first half, they were by far the better team against Cincinnati. But when you don't take advantage of your chances, and especially giving up a goal late in the first half, as well to be trailing heading into the second half and been pretty much played behind for the entire game. Yeah, that's kind of the resort we see for this Sporting KC side. And speaking of that, that kind of was a similar story in this game between the Philadelphia Union and DC United. And even though the scoreline looked like it's just one of your typical the Union just getting absolutely or the Union just pretty much absolutely dominating DC as what we've seen in previous time. I mean, if you're a DC fan, whenever you play the Union, you're basically thinking, oh, it's an automatic L. But you're just hoping that it's not going to be a one-way traffic kind of game. And to be fair, this was not a one-way traffic game. I mean, DC, they had their moments in this one, but again, when you don't put away your chances against a team that not only you don't do well, but are probably heavily favored to win this game, yeah, that's why the Union were able to walk away with a relatively easy victory in the end. Now, in the first half, DC had most of the possession and actually was looking promising, but in the 12th minute, on the first shot for the Union, it's in the back of the net, and it's Jacob Glesnes. So, anytime when Jacob Glesnes score a goal, it's an absolute banger. And this actually wasn't a banger. I mean, this was just kind of one where he found himself in a good position in the box, and he just hits it, and it's in the back of the net. So he scored here from Westfield to make it 1-0 in favor of the Union, really kind of against the run of play because I thought DC looked better, and the Union didn't really had a lot of chances up to that point. Glesnes would look for another, but he hits it wide in the 22nd minute. Murrow would then puts it over from close range. The shots were 4-1 for DC up to this point, but the only shots on target was from the Union, and that was the goal that Glesnes scored. Baji was then in on goal there, but he puts it over from close range in the 28th minute, and then he hits it right to Blake in the 36th minute. So yeah, this is kind of the big downgrade that DC will have have with Don Baji starting here. Keep in mind, both Benteke and Peglo did not play in this game, so yeah, that's kind of almost a death sentence for this DC attack. Consider those are the two guys that is pretty much the only legitimate goal scorer for this DC team. But DC continue to push for the opening goal, but you just kind of had a feeling that again, missing Benteke and even in some extents Peglo in this game really kind of cost them in terms of the lack of finishing. Blake would then deny Murrow from close in the 41st minute, but we do head to halftime with the Union leading 1-0. In the second half, Vasilet would put it wide from close, but then in the 52nd minute, the Union would double their lead as Jean-Jacques scores again. He's starting to get into a goal scoring habit, isn't it, Jean-Jacques? But he scored here from Sullivan to make it 2-0 in favor of the Union. McNulty looked to answer, but he hits it right to Blake. We then go for a period where not much really happened, and then in the 70th minute, Baji had to be subbed off with an injury. Now, it wasn't looking like it was a serious injury. And the good news, I would say, about DC in terms of the injury crisis that they have in the number 9 position, most of these number 9 doesn't seems like they're suffering serious injury. It looks like Benteke could be back as soon as next week. But at least for this game, that's got to be huge concern because yeah, Baji was really kind of like their last number 9. So they now have to go to Karamuko, who they just drafted this year and wasn't really expecting to get a lot of minutes. He has to be there because DC pretty much are running out of number 9 option. But in the 76th minute, Priani would hit it right to Blake, and in the 77th minute, Diamani would score from Urut and Glesnes to make it 3-0 in favor of the Union. Priani would then put one into the stands in the 79th minute. That just kind of sums up the day for DC. Just cannot put the ball into the back net if their life depends on it. Barraza then denied Diamani from close, and then he denied Raffanello from close range as the Union was definitely putting pressure late because they're once again going to put a freaking number against DC. They love playing against DC United, and as a result, they get another win in this one, 3-0 win in this one. Like it feels like every single season, the Philadelphia Union is going to get at least 6 points, and those 6 points are probably going to be against DC United because yeah, it's kind of shocking of how one sided this uh this meeting between both of these teams and how the Union just absolutely dominate DC in these last couple of years. Shots in this one, 12 shots committed, 11 that DC had, 5 shots on York with the 6 that the Union has. And as much as I said that they dominated the recent series, this was probably one of the closer meeting between both of these teams, and the scoreline doesn't even replicate that. 1 shots off target with a 4 that DC had, 1 shot that was blocked with a 5 that the Union has, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to the 46% possession the Union has in this game. And as I said, the reason why the scoreline doesn't replicate that is because DC was really missing those goal scorer on their team. If Benteke was in this game, I mean, I don't think they probably would have won this game because the defense in this game was just as bad as you expect a DC team to be. But at least it would have been much closer in terms of the scoreline than the 3-0 scoreline that was indicated in this game. Now, moving on in terms of the next match is the Red Bulls and Montreal. So Montreal has now reached the mark that Sporting KC reached a couple years ago, which is them going 10 games without a win to start the season. Yeah, that is not a mark you want to reach. And to be fair, like DC and Sporting KC, they play well in this game against the Red Bulls, but they just couldn't find that clinical finishing and score that crucial goal against a Red Bull side that I guarantee you if you're the Red Bulls and you're Sandro Schwartz, I mean it wasn't pretty whatsoever. But you absolutely take and consider how things have gone for this Red Bulls team the last couple of months. It feels like this team has gone through a downward trend in a worst possible way. But in the first half, Cornell would deny Owusu from close before Guerrero would hits it right to Cornell. And again, Montreal was on the front foot in this one. In fact, they're not only on the front foot, they were by far the better team in this one. It looked like it was one-way traffic early with how Montreal kind of came to play in this one and pushing to try to get the early lead. Letary would then puts it over from long range before Campbell would hits it right to Cornell. The shots were 4-0 for Montreal up to this point. Yeah, it's safe to say that the Red Bulls definitely did not start on time in this one, and that was just 13 minutes into this game, and 3 of them was also on target. There was a shout for a penalty for Montreal not given before Harper would miss wide from close in the 17th minute. The Red Bulls, I thought, also kind of started sailing in to this game as the game goes along. And then I forgot to also mention, but Harper had another chance in the 33rd minute, but he missed that one wide. And we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, I thought the Red Bulls started much better in the second half. They were looking to try to get the opening goal. Ely would then heads it right to Breza before Saliba would heads it right to Cornell in the 52nd minute. Forsberg would put it into stands on the free kick, but then Ely would put it right to Breza in the 58th minute as the Red Bulls continue that pressure and try to get the opening goal. And up to this point, this is when the shots are starting to level up. Earlier, it was heavily in favor of Montreal, but the Red Bulls only caught up to the shot total, but they actually have a slight lead with a 9-8 advantage at the hour mark. And in the 61st minute, that pressure finally paid off as Noah Ile would score from Valencia to make it 1-0 in favor of the Red Bulls. Great delivery there from Valencia from the corner. Ile was in the right place to head that one in, and just like that, the Red Bulls got their deserved 1-0 lead. Alvarez looks to response, but he heads this one wide before Graham Roach was in on goal here, but only puts a weak shot right to Cornell. So this is kind of an example of a youngster that, yeah, if he get more veteran present, he probably could have buried that one. But there was no doubt that Montreal was pressing to try to get the equalizer. The Red Bulls were playing that bend, but don't break kind of defense and pray that they can hold on to this. And the good news is that when you face it against a Montreal side that usually doesn't have a lot of pushback late in the game, you get away with that one. As in the end, the Red Bulls get a much needed 1-0 win in this game against Montreal. The shots in this one, 13 shots committed, 10 that Montreal has, 5 shots on goal for the 6 that the Red Bulls had, 4 shots off target with a 3 that Montreal has, 1 shot that was blocked with a 3 that the Red Bulls had, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that Montreal has in this game. And it really feels like it's eerily similar to see these two Eastern Canadian teams are in terms of the projectile and the problems that they have. All of these Canadian team, at least in the East, actually been playing pretty well in the last couple of games, at least on the defensive end. It's just the goal scoring that's been the problem for both of these teams, and that's kind of surprising for Montreal because Montreal has actually generated more chances than TFC that has, but again they just bury those chances, and that's gotta really frustrate Montreal because again, they've definitely been playing much better, even if the resort doesn't show it. But now they unfortunately match the record in terms of the longest winless run to start the season at 10 games, matching Sporting KC did a couple of years ago, and now we'll see whether or not if the Galaxy could match that mark. I'm pretty sure Galaxy fans doesn't want to see that, but it's hard to believe that remember a couple of years when we saw Sporting KC start the season 10 games without a win, and we think that feels absolutely absurd. I wouldn't have think that we would be now just a couple of years ago, and we not only see one team that start the season 10 games without a win, but we might see another team that start the season 10 games without a win, and that other team literally just won MLS Cup a couple of months ago. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of the Saturday matinee games. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of this review, and let me know in the comments below what do you think of these games. And as I said, tomorrow it's a busy action. Well, I say it's a busy action, but it's kind of a fun day with the way that we're not only gonna get 4 Sunday games, but they're gonna be back to back to back to back. So pretty much not only I don't have to worry about overlapping games, but it's gonna be a fun day of just enjoying MLS soccer and get 8 hours worth of MLS soccer. I don't think we ever seen a day like this on Sunday, not since the pre Apple TV days where we see that many games that is happening all in a 2 hour interval, and I love to see that. I would absolutely enjoy seeing almost a full day and really a full workday kind of MLS soccer tomorrow with all the games starting at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, and it goes all the way up into the evening, all the way up to 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific time. But like I said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.